Hey Difference Maker, it's Anthony Kirby here. I hope you're well, and thanks so much for attending this free training, which is all about how you can sign up more awesome clients for your coaching business. It doesn't rely on you having a big email list, and it certainly does not rely on you having a million followers on your social media. So, if you don't know who I am, hello. That's a photo of me and my family. I am Anthony Kirby, as I mentioned at the top of the training, and I suppose I'm known as the guy in the coaching industry who helps committed coaches to get more clients and more awesome clients at that. I've been working in the industry of sales and marketing for well over 15 years now. And for the last 5 years, I've been out on my own, coaching and consulting with clients all over the world. And that's really where I developed the framework that I'm teaching now to coaches. Right now, I live in Brisbane in Australia. As you'll see in the photo, I've got a wife and I've got 3 awesome kids. And I'm really, really looking forward to spending the next little while with you. Now, before we go any further, I just want to let you know this is not a webinar. Most webinars that you'd be familiar with, and I'm sure you've been to many of them, they usually spend about 30 minutes with the presenter telling you how great they are. Then they spend another 15 or so minutes showing you how great they are based on the results they've got. And then they do a tiny little bit of what they call teaching. And then they spend a whole heap of time talking about the product and, all the things you're going to get and stacking it all up and then giving you an amazing discount in the hope that you will buy before you leave the webinar. That is not how I like to play the game. I think that it's much nicer if I spend the next couple of minutes just introducing you to this training and then actually get into some real training that's going to get you some results and give you some good things to think about. And then at the end of the training, I'm going to spend 2 minutes or less offering you a call with me so I can help you to implement the things that we're going to talk about on this training. And you're under no obligation to take that at all. As I mentioned, it'll be just for 2 minutes at the end. The rest of this training will be actual training, and I'm sure that if you've got a pen and paper with you and a glass of water, you're going to get some awesome results in the time that we spend together. Is this right for you? This is right for you if you're a coach. That's a bloody good start because, it's a coach training. And if you want a way to create consistent income and consistent impact with your clients, then you're definitely in the right place. It's going to be really helpful for you. And if you struggle right now to get consistent leads, and you desire to grow your email list so you can do some better quality marketing to your people, then you're definitely going to enjoy what we go through in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Now, a couple of little quick rules before we dive in. I just want to establish these. This is not for any fake experts or wannabes. So if you're more worried about, having a photo of you in a Ferrari out the front of your waterfront mansion, that's not really what I would perceive as being a real difference maker. And so I don't think this is going to be really good for you because this training is all about being value-based, coming from a place of integrity, and really serving your clients well, okay? So this is for legitimate coaches who really care about making a difference. This is also not a promise of any get-rich-quick. I'm not here to show you how to make 7 figures. There's plenty of training out there for that. What I can say, though, is that if you follow these steps, you will get good results. But I've got no idea about your business or how fast you want to work or, how adept you are at doing these things that I'm about to share with you. But it is a serious training. And if at this stage you feel like it's not for you, then I totally appreciate that. And I wish you the very, very best. But if you're still hanging around and you think, yep, that's me, I'm serious, I'm a committed coach, and I'm ready to do this, then let's get straight into the training. Now, there's a few things before we really dive in here. And this is very, very tangible training. So there's lots of diagrams, lots of things you can write down. But there's a few things that I know to be true about you if you're here. The first thing is that I know that you're committed to being the best coach you can be. And you're committed to that constant search for progress. I know that you are not scared of making mistakes. And that allows you to grow as a coach and serve your clients better. I also know that you're not scared to ask hard questions of your clients in a good way. And I mean that because I know you come from a place of value, and I know that you have strong values, and they count for you in your business, and that's why you're okay with asking the hard questions of your clients to get them results, okay? I also believe that you're not here because of the whole hustle or Ferrari thing. I think I've covered that already. This is definitely not the training for you if you're sort of into that sort of stuff. And I strongly believe that you are big on the relationships you build with your people and your tribe. And finally, I think that it's important for you to get this right because you still want to enjoy your time, right? You don't want to be a slave to your coaching business. You want to use this as a vehicle for freedom for yourself and your family, and so that you can spend the time with the people that you love. I mean, at least that's what I see from most of the people that watch this and most of the people that attend trainings with me or work with me, and even for myself as well, okay? So all that being said, pen and paper at the ready, really your coaching business comes down to this. And you can screenshot this and print it off and put it on your wall. This is literally coaching business 101. I mean, people can show you all the fancy frameworks and all the depth and the funnels and all the things. But if you follow this very simple flowchart, this is it. And I mean, my job is not to overcomplicate this. My job is to take you away from the overwhelm that everyone else is adding to you and give you something very tangible and very simple that you can go and use in your business right now, okay? So let's break this down. Now, in order for you to do anything in your coaching business, you're going to need some traffic, right? And there's 3 ways that you can get traffic. The first way that you can get traffic is organic or free content. Now that is things like your Facebook page, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. That's adding things onto your Google for Business, if that's the case for you, your YouTube channel. And that's free traffic. Someone types in the search box or they find you on Facebook, they watch your stuff and they go, wow, that's cool. And they take a next step with you, hopefully. The second traffic source is paid traffic. That's where we go to Facebook Ads Manager. We spend a few bucks, we get some results, we direct the attention of the market who don't know you towards you, okay? And the third kind of traffic that you can get is partnership traffic. And what I mean by partnership traffic is, for example, if you're a business coach, you could go to an accountant and say, hey, I'd really like to come and do a free training for your business clients that you do the books for and teach them some stuff about sales and marketing. That would be an example of a partnership agreement that you would have there, okay? Now, once you have got the traffic, what's going to happen is you're going to get their attention. And when you get their attention, it's really important that that attention is seen to be high value attention, okay? And what I mean by that is that it solves the internal conversation that the client's already having in their mind. Now, I'm not interested in creating content that is generic and quote cards and all the fun stuff that everyone's telling you to do. I'm all about attention-grabbing content, okay? And I'll explain more about that in a moment and how you can do that. And it's very, very simple. Nothing that I'm sharing with you here is complex because I think you've probably had enough of the complexity. Let's make this easy and enjoyable and fun. Let's bring the enthusiasm back to your coaching business, all right? So once you've got their attention, there's this magic thing that's going to happen where they're going to go and they're going to stalk you and they're going to say, is this person legit? And I know you've probably done this yourself. So you got to start clicking around and seeing whether they're really, they're talking about this thing repeatedly and they're giving good value. And that's going to build trust and that's going to build a bond with the client, okay, or the prospector in this case. Now, the next step in the process here is that when they've built that bond with you and when you've got that trust, you want to give them a logical right next step, all right? And that usually comes in the form of a lead magnet. You've probably heard that term before. Or it comes in the form of like a webinar or an on-demand training, exactly like the one you're watching right now, okay? Then once they've watched that or taken part in that, then we want to invite them to solve the problem. Now, what I mean by that is you want to get them on a call or perhaps you want to put them into a Facebook group. Perhaps you want to give them a trial for your product or your service. And it's essentially about getting them to experience a next step with you so you can really help them to start to deep dive and solve the problem that they have, okay? And then once you do that, then of course we're going to make them an offer that is very solution-oriented and very congruent and valuable. And usually we would do that using a method that I refer to as the reverse sales method, which is actually not selling at all because I'm not big on making sales calls in inverted commas. I'm not big on the hardcore sell and pre-qualifying the clients and all that sort of stuff. I think that, if you do this well, if you do kind of these steps really well, the people who end up at this step are very, very good quality. And certainly that's my experience anyway over the last few years. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that call with the client as well. So it's very, very easy, okay? Now, when you do that, of course, what generally happens is a portion of those people are going to say, wow, that's awesome, let's work together. And they're going to become your raving fans. And they're going to do the advertising for you then. And then this all just gets really fun at that stage, okay? So all of that being the case, there's really three main things that you need to focus on as the coach, as the owner of the coaching business, all right? The first thing, and this is definitely the first step, even if you're established right now and you've got some runs on the board, you have to constantly make sure that the market or your market know your name. You have to be on their shopping list, on their awareness radar, okay? The second thing we have to make sure is that you've got a dependable system. And I say dependable with bold and underline there because what we don't want to do is build a system around a tactic and then have the algorithm change and then suddenly your system's not working anymore. And we've seen that again and again and again with a lot of the gurus. I'm going to teach you how to turn engaged traffic into interested prospects in this training. And most importantly here, it's very important that you learn to repel the people who are not a good fit for your business because they will waste a lot of your time and resources. All right. So you'll notice already in this training at the start, the people who watch this who are interested in not doing the work and interested in just the get-rich-quick kind of mentality and flashing their cash and buying a Rolex and all that stuff, they're not on this training now because they know it's not for them because I told them so, okay? Now, I'm not against people buying nice things, but when you're buying nice things at the expense of not helping other people, that's not really the way I think difference makers should be interacting in the world, okay? So, the third thing that you need to focus on, in my opinion, in my experience, is being able to present an offer that is so congruent with your audience and easy for them to take up with zero friction that they know it's a no-brainer to take action, okay? If you can get those three things right, if you can get people to know your name, if you can get them to go from engaged traffic to interested prospect and repel the people who aren't good, and you can present an offer that's so easy for them to say yes to, you will have amazing success in your coaching business, all right? Now, what I want to start with in this training is making sure that people know who you are, and I want to do this in a way that doesn't take up a whole heap of your time and energy. What most people have heard when it comes to content creation and getting the attention of the market is that you have to be posting sort of 4 times a day. You have to be on every platform posting 4 times a day. You have to be guest posting. You have to be doing all the different things. You have to be making a blog and doing the backlinks and appearing on different shows and podcasts and doing webinars and running Facebook ads. And it is exhausting if that's the way you run your coaching business, because you spend all of your time getting people into the system, and then you got to go and deliver to these people. And so what happens is you end up on this sort of sell, deliver seesaw, I call it, where you end up spending your time selling, then you turn to delivery mode, and then what happens then is whilst you're in delivery, you're not selling, so then you finish with those clients and you got to go out and hustle and stress yourself out doing that, okay? So where this fits in the whole picture, this first part, is this getting the attention aspect, all right? And what I want to talk to you about first of all is this quote, and I love this quote because it's very, very accurate. It's by a guy called Wyatt Woodsmall. And he said that when you can explain your client's problem to them better than they can, they're naturally going to assume that you have the right solution, okay? Now, think about an example here. I just recently had to take my son, Charlie, who's almost 5 years old. I had to take him to hospital because he was very sick, okay? So we get in the ambulance and off we go to the hospital. And when we got to the hospital, a doctor by the name of Dr. Felix, lovely guy, looked after my son. And he came to his bed and he asked us a whole heap of questions about what the situation was, what we'd been experiencing. And essentially what happened is once he'd finished that, then he made a diagnosis that my son had this virus, this nasty virus that was going around. And he recommended a course of action and off we went. Now, the reason he was able to do that was because, and the reason we didn't sort of question him and say, well, how did you come to that decision that he has a virus? The reason we didn't question him and the reason we didn't ask him where he got his medical certificate and the reason we didn't ask him what was going on was because he could explain it very, very well, better than we could, better than my wife and I could. And so we naturally sort of assume, we naturally believe that that person has the right solution because they can explain it better than we can to ourselves, okay? And that's exactly what you have to remember. A lot of people, when they make content, they're making content that is very either self-serving or irrelevant to the market. Or even if you've got highly relevant, high-value content, but you're not speaking to your audience in a way that is congruent with the audience, with your market, then you're not going to get the cut through. You're not going to get the engagement, all right? So what I want to do is I want to take you through a very quick exercise, and then I'll give you an example. And I think you'll find that this will really help you when you start to sort of write posts or communicate with your market via email or whatever it might be. It's going to change the way that they perceive you, and it's going to change the bond that you start to create with your clients and your prospects, okay? So what I want you to do is grab a pen and paper if you haven't got it at this stage, and we'll get into these questions. Now, of course, you can pause this video. This is on demand. It's not going anywhere. And, there's no fake countdown here. So just press pause if you want to answer these questions as we go, or just write them down, and we'll get to them once you finish this training, okay? So the first question is this. What problem does my client have right now? Now, I'm going to use the example of coaches because that's my market. So most coaches that I speak to have no leads or very few leads, or the leads that they do have aren't very good quality. They struggle to convert those leads to sales, which means that they haven't got consistent income, which is very, very annoying for them, okay? So that's the first answer to that question. So what is that answer for your market? Now, if you've got more than one client in your market, so you might serve, mums, for example, but there's lots of different kinds of mums, right? There's mums who've just had a baby. There's mums who have kids who've left home. There's mums who have teenagers who are all tantrums and all that sort of stuff, hormones. So they're all different people within your market. What you need to do is you need to answer this question for each of those, okay? So if you've got a mum who's got a newborn baby and you've got a mum whose son or daughter has just left home, then they're going to have two different problems. The mum with a newborn might be struggling to sleep. They might be frustrated. They might be feeling stressed. Their relationship might be suffering. They might not be communicating well with their significant others. The mum who's just had a child leave home might be feeling like, my problem is I've forgotten who I am. I've spent so long bringing up my kids that my husband and I don't know how to talk anymore. And, all we ever had to talk about was the kids. But now that they've gone, I feel like I don't know him or myself anymore. So you see how they're two different problems, but the same market, okay? Now, next question is, what do they actually want? What is it that they desire? So again, in my example here, if I think about coaches, most coaches that I speak to say to me, Kirby, if I could get consistent leads and sales calls and consistent conversions, I would be super happy because I would have regular income. That's exactly what I hear every single day, okay? So that would be the desire of my market. Now, this is really where we start to get some really good cut through here. You've probably heard about the whole thing of, the target client or the ideal client before, but most people don't ask these questions that I'm about to share with you. They're more interested in, what are their interests and where do they hang out and all these sort of bland, boring questions that don't get to the bottom of it. This question here and the questions that follow will completely differentiate your message from anyone else in your marketplace. So if you've got other coaches who are in your newsfeed right now and you're thinking, wow, how can I stand out above these people? They've got all the experience and the engagement. This is the bit that's going to help you stand out. This is the bit that's going to attract the right clients to you that you can charge for your products or services, okay? And the question is this: what have they already seen, heard, or tried that relates to the problem, okay? So if I speak to a coach and I think about, well, what have they already seen? Chances are most coaches, including yourself, have probably seen the gurus. You've probably seen the Brendan Burchards, the Tony Robbins, the Frank Kerns, the James Wedmores of the world. And you may have heard good things about their programs. You might have heard that they've got great events. And as a consequence, you might have tried that, okay? So you may have tried an online course from some of these people. You may have tried a webinar from some of these people. You may even have gone to an event from some of these people and attended that with a friend of yours, for example, in the sort of hope that you could resolve that problem that you have as a coach, which is to get more clients, all right? Now, this is where it gets interesting. If we think about the results that your client has achieved based on what they've seen, heard, or tried, this is where we start to really be able to understand how we need to communicate with our market. So if I think about coaching, most coaches that I speak to who've kind of gone down the line of watching webinars, searching YouTube, jumping into Facebook groups, trying to find the answers, downloading all the lead magnets, promising the result, all they've really done is added a bit more work and a bit more frustration. And potentially they might have sort of snagged a few email addresses along the way, but the quality is really average. No one's responding to the emails. The leads are really low quality. They don't want to buy anything. They very rarely turn up for the sales calls, etc. Okay, does this sound right for you, by the way? And then the final question is, how does it make them feel? Okay, so in the coaching case, most coaches feel very frustrated when they come to me. Most people actually say, you know what, I'm feeling a bit angry because I feel like I've wasted so much money and time. And in fact, I'm feeling a bit exhausted and overwhelmed, and I'm probably ready to go back to a full-time job. Okay, so in most cases, the coaches that I speak to are doing a lot more work than they ever have before, but they're getting less results than they've ever had before. So what would the answers be for your market? Okay, just to recap those questions. What problem does your client have? What do they want to achieve? What have they seen, heard, or tried that relates to the problem? What results did they get from that? And how did that make them feel? Okay. Now, why does all of this matter? Why are all these questions important? And why do they form such a fundamental part of your message to market? And therefore, what the steps are that your client takes afterwards? Well, let me tell you why. Like the doctor, essentially, you want the client to feel like you're inside their mind in the nicest possible way. So imagine your client's reading a newspaper, okay? And they get to an article, and this article is titled, and again, I'll use the coaching as the example here. And the article's titled, why 83% of coaches go broke in 2 years. Now, that's going to catch their attention, of course, as it would with anyone who writes that headline. But if I then look at the answers to these questions, and just to reiterate these for you, imagine this is a newspaper article, and I'd say, 83% of coaches are going broke right now. And the reason they're going broke is because they cannot consistently generate leads or sales, and they're attracting the wrong kinds of clients to their business. And I know that most coaches, what they really want is consistent leads and regular income, because what they truly desire is to make a difference in the world and make an impact, and they feel like that's why they're put on this planet. Now, most coaches get led down the garden path of thinking that they have to do X, Y, and Z to achieve the result. But in fact, that is usually not the way that things happen. In fact, the result that most people usually get from that is that they get a few email addresses, but the quality is really average. They just feel like they're doing more and more work, listening to more and more people with more and more different examples of what they should be doing, and they get completely lost in this maze of what to do next. That leaves coaches feeling very frustrated and almost a little bit angry. Now, you see what happened there? I just used all of the answers to form up like a very basic paragraph or two. And I know I'm being quite facetious in the way that I delivered that, because I really wanted to make it clear each distinction in those steps that I was going through. You can, of course, make that sound much nicer. But if you think about your content that you've posted recently, does it answer those questions? Does it talk about those things? Does it say, hey, I know you've tried this before, but this time I want to show you this a different way, or I want you to think about it a different way? And what I would like you to do, if you haven't done so already, is go back. And don't be scared to go back and revise your content. Look at your old posts on social media. Go and revise the text in there. Go and twist it up a bit so that when people come back and look at it again, they're like, wow, that's really, really good. That's like me. And you want them to be thinking, this person is inside my mind right now. Okay? And have you ever had that happen to you? I'm sure you have, where you've kind of read a post or you've watched a video and you're like, wow, that person is so accurate, it's not even funny. The reason is because they understand how to enter the conversation in your mind, okay? So, let's say that you've caught the eye of your market with a piece of content that really talks to them. It really enters that conversation in their mind. What's going to happen now, and I'm sure you've done this yourself, is that they're going to go and stalk you a little bit. They're going to say, is this person legit? And they're going to have this kind of curious interest in what you have to offer. They're still not ready to buy necessarily, but they're going to be curious about who you are and how they haven't heard of you before. And so what's going to happen is they're going to go to your social media feed, they're going to look through your Facebook, they're going to look through your LinkedIn, they're going to go to Google, they're going to go to your website perhaps, and they're going to be curious. They're going to start digging. And what you want them to do is you want them to find the thing they're looking for, and it's what I call the holy shit factor. Now, I apologize for the French in this sentence, but it's literally what clients say. And the holy shit factor is the opposite of what most people are telling you to do, okay? So what most people are telling you to do is just bash out content all day long. Be present, go live, do Facebook stories, do Instagram stories, be on Snapchat, be on TikTok, all of that stuff. And I'm here to tell you that that is just a giant waste of time, because most of the people in your market don't care about the TikTok dance that you're doing. What they care about is solving their problem, okay? I'm going to say that again because it's worth saying again. They care about solving their problem. Okay. Now, sure, it's nice to show behind the scenes and all that stuff as a secondary part of your content strategy. But really, what your content strategy needs to be about, when someone finds you, you want them to go to your social media and stalk you a bit, and you want them to look through your newsfeed and see really high quality content, and you want them to watch a couple of your videos and go, wow, holy shit, where has this person been hiding? Okay, that's what the holy shit factor is all about. It's not about posting 100 quote cards with inspirational quotes necessarily. That's nice, but it's not important to the client necessarily. It's about creating a quality newsfeed of high value content, okay? And I believe that the magic number here is 5 to 10 pieces of content, and preferably video content. Now, you can do video content like I am right now, which is where I'm talking to a slide, essentially. Sounds strange to say it like that, but that's what I'm doing, and record it like this. This is still valuable, I hope. Or, of course, if you're comfortable on camera, you can jump on camera and show your face and be like, hey, here I am. And that's much nicer, of course, but, if you're just starting out doing video, don't be scared just to do slides like this and explain some questions that your clients can ask themselves, or to give them that value, okay? What's the most important part here? The depth of the value. It's way more important than how it's delivered. It's way more important than how often it's delivered. 5 to 10 pieces of killer content will trump 300 quote cards every day of the week. And I've seen it again and again and again and again with clients, okay? So here's the reality of how this works. This is a real example. This is very recent. I went into a Facebook group, and someone asked a question about a specific marketing thing. I won't completely tell you what it was all about in case you're listening to this and you realize that this is you. That would be very awkward. But I went into this group and I answered the question. And I answered the question thoroughly and properly, but I did not make a pitch. This is really important. What happens most of the time, people answer the question in a very generic kind of low-key way, and then they say, hey, send me a private message and we'll talk further. And what you're doing is you're kind of taking them to a place they don't necessarily want, or that they're not necessarily ready to go to. Let me give you an example. If you went to a nightclub, and this is an example everyone can understand. You got to a nightclub and you walked in, and let's just assume that you were single. And I don't know if you're married or in a relationship or whatever, but let's just assume that you were single. You went to the nightclub, you saw someone that was attractive, and you walked up to this person and you said, hey, my name's John Smith. I've got an Uber waiting outside. Would you like to get in the Uber and go home with me? Chances are you're going to get a drink over your head or a slap on the face. That's not really any different to marketing, except we forget that because we're doing it in an online world, and we kind of forget that there's a human on the other side of the conversation. And so what we're essentially doing when we say, hey, send me a private message, or you're sending them a private message, is you're taking them to the nightclub and you're saying, let's go back to my place. I mean, look, come on, we can do better than that, right? So here's what happened. I answered this question in the Facebook group. It was a really detailed answer. It gave them the answer in a very high value way. And more importantly, this is the way I want you to think about this. When you're creating high value content, do it in such a way that other people would charge for it. That's the level you want to be playing at here. If you want to really stand out in your marketplace, remember this. People are not paying you for information. They are paying you for implementation. They are paying you to hold their hand. They're paying you for clarity. They're paying you for insight. The information is available if they look hard enough on YouTube or anywhere else. You just want to be the person who's giving them the best content so that they make it a no-brainer for them to take the next step with you, okay? That's what I did in this case. Now, what happened was the individual that I answered the question for immediately sent me a friend request on Facebook. I didn't ask them to. They just sent me a friend request, and I accepted. And they also, at the very same time, liked my Facebook page. Now, I'm not big on likes and followers and all that stuff. I don't think it's really that good of a metric to focus on. I'd rather have people having conversations with me than having likes on my page. But anyway, this individual liked my page. This individual sent me a friend request. And then what happened was I saw over the course of the next sort of hour that my notifications kept popping up saying, hey, this individual has liked your video. This individual has liked this video. This individual has liked that video. Now, here's the important part. Whilst they were liking the videos, they were not commenting on the videos, and they were not sharing the content. Okay, that's really important because the engagement doesn't matter. What matters is, do they see the value content? It's not about engagement, of likes and clicks and all that stuff that we would usually associate with success, okay? Then what happened was, about an hour after this, I get an email saying that this individual has downloaded my free coaching guide. Now, this is a really in-depth guide. It's about 60 pages, I think, and it takes them through some really cool steps. And it was downloaded. So they'd obviously gone through my social media, found their way to my website from social media, and now they had downloaded my guide. Now, bear in mind, in a time frame here, this is about 2 hours, 2.5 hours maybe, since I answered the question in the Facebook group, okay? Then what happened was, they watched a free training that I had available, which is just like this one. And this free training was related to that guide. It was a video training that coincided with the chapters of that guide. And then they booked a call with me. And then I gave them even more value. And they said to me, hey, can you help me with this? And as of this moment, they are a client in my coaching program, okay? Now, all of that came from me answering one question with high value. That's exactly how your content needs to work, all right? So, as I mentioned, your core task here is to create 5 to 10 valuable pieces of content that answer the question that your client already has in their mind. Now, the important thing here is with each part of your content that's on your page, you want to make a very, very low-key, soft pitch to take them to your next logical step in the sequence, okay? And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example in a moment, but it's basically like you give them all the value, and then you very subtly seed the next step for them, okay? I'll give you an exact example of this in a moment, so you know what I mean. Now, where do you find the content? Basically, if you go to YouTube, this is literally how I would do it. Go to YouTube, find 5 videos in your niche, in your sort of space, and go to the comments section of the most popular videos in your space and look at the comments. Now, the comments will tell you 2 things. Questions that people have missed. So they'll say, hey, great video, but you missed this. And then that gives you some ammunition for what people are asking. Also, if people are saying, wow, this video was really, really good. I love the fact that you shared A, B, and C. You want to go and say, well, A, B, and C is obviously a hit. And you want to think, well, you know, based on what they've already seen, based on what they've already heard, would this be a really good piece of content for me to produce? And then go and produce it, okay? Same with Facebook. Go and join some Facebook groups that relate to your market and ask them questions. Or just watch for the questions in the newsfeed or in the group feed. You know, people are asking questions in groups every single day. I get a lot of my content ideas, and even a lot of my research into what the client's really thinking comes from what I see inside my own Facebook group and also other Facebook groups that I'm a member of as well. And it's not to go in there and pitch. It's not to go in there and say, hey, everyone, I'm a coach. You should come and work with me. That's the wrong way to do it. You've probably already seen a lot of people doing it that way. That really doesn't do much for your brand. It just puts you in the pile with all the other coaches doing that, which then the only thing that's different is the price, and you're going to end up doing the cheapest work for the clients who don't respect it, okay? Google autocomplete's another good place to look. So just start typing into Google, you know, how do I do X, which relates to your market, relates to your service, and you'll find what the most common search terms are, and that is worldwide. So that's a really good place to do it because, you know, it's got keyword volume. And the final place, which I love, is Amazon book reviews. Now, this sounds so obvious and so easy, but if you go to Amazon and you search the 5-star reviews, you'll see that people say, wow, I love this book because. And also, if you then search the 1-star reviews, you'll see this book sucks because. And you want to really play on that and use that as a bit of a guide for the content that you might want to produce, okay? So if you go and you could do like an hour or 2 of research over the next 24 hours, you could come up with 5 or 10 awesome pieces of content and go and record it. And you would have an amazing arsenal that would have people saying, wow, this person's really, really inside the knowledge of what I want. They really know what they're talking about, and I really want to know what the next step is, okay? So now that you've got their attention, and, you know, by this stage, if they've stalked you a bit, you would have built some trust because they would have seen that you've got some other content that's relevant. What we want to do now is give them a really logical next step. And so where it fits in the whole picture of this coaching cycle is that you've got their attention, you've shown that you can be trusted because you've got more than one piece of content. You're going to give them a logical next step. Now, the logical next step comes down to this question. A lot of people overcomplicate this. You know, you might have already made some lead magnets, and they might be, you know, well-meaning, but they might not be adding a lot of value. Have you ever downloaded a lead magnet where you've given up your email address, you've given up your name, potentially your phone number, and it hits your inbox, and you open it up and it's a PDF, and, you know, it's promised the world, and then you open it up and it's like 2 pages and it's just crap, basically. And you go, that doesn't really deliver on what it said, and it leaves you feeling a little bit deflated. Have you had that happen? I know I have. And so what happens then usually is that you just get smashed by them with emails saying, hey, that was a great lead magnet, you should take the next step. And you do not feel compelled to take the next step, right? And the reason for that is because it didn't serve the magic pill, okay? So the best way for you to come up with your next logical step is one of 2 things that I'll share with you. But basically, the question that we want to ask, and we want to put ourselves in the client's shoes, or even if you've got the opportunity to ask your market, then please do so, is to ask this question. If I could give you a magic pill and you could swallow it, what would that magic pill do for you immediately? So just to give you that question again, if I had a magic pill and I gave you the magic pill and you swallowed it, what would you have it do for you immediately? So I asked this question just today. I asked this question in my group, and I said, hey, if I had a magic pill, what would you want that magic pill to do for you right now? And almost every single person, in fact, everyone said the same thing. The only difference was the amounts that they gave me. Everyone said, I would want to create a consistent income of $20,000 in my coaching business. That was the answer I got. So that makes it very easy for you to know what that next step is. I mean, there's a headline right there for me. The headline is how to create a consistent $20,000 a month income in your coaching business. That's literally the lead magnet title that's made from the answer to this question. So I want you to think about what is the answer to that question for your market, for what you serve, for the people that you serve. What would they have happen if you gave them the magic pill right now? Okay, that becomes your logical next step lead magnet. And we don't have to overcomplicate this. We keep it very, very simple. Okay, so the best way for you to help your client, the best way to delight your client, is to solve their problem with some awesome free content. And what I mean by that is giving them clarity on where they're at, giving it to them for free, and delivering the outcome, even if it's just the first step or two in the process. That is the answer to this question. Okay, so if the answer to that question is, I would take a pill and it would make my marriage awesome again, well, then your lead magnet needs to help them with that problem. It needs to say, here's some ways that you can make it awesome. Bring the magic back to your marriage with these 3 things. Here's some questions to ask your spouse. Here's 16 date night ideas, whatever that might be, right? I mean, I'm just giving you some examples. Please don't go and use these, but I don't know if they're as relevant or congruent with you. So that's basically what I want you to do, right? Now, when you've done that, there's really 2 ways that you want to deliver this. You want to deliver it as a high-value lead magnet, and that might mean a checklist or a video or an ebook, whatever it might be, or you want to deliver it as an on-demand training, exactly like this one that you're watching right now. All right. So they've seen your high-value content, and then we're going to get them to take that next step, and we're going to take them to a lead magnet, or we're going to take them to an on-demand training. You can do both, of course. You could say, here's a lead magnet which also has an on-demand training, which is what I did with my guide. Now, how do we structure the ask that gets them to the next step? Well, that's actually really simple. Here's a very easy formula that I want you to have. And again, you can screenshot this. It's extremely simple. So we start off with this. Are you? If you do, you choose one of those. And I'm going to give you an example. Then you tell them what you've got. And then you tell them what it's going to do for them, the benefits of what it's going to do for them. And then you tell them what you want them to do now. Okay? Now, for this to be effective, you have to know the answers to the ideal client that I gave you before. Because for you to really speak to the conversation in their head, you need to know those answers. So here's an example for you, okay? So let's suppose that someone's watching a video, and it's a video about how you can make sales more easily. I would get to the end of that video and I'd say, hey, by the way, if you're enjoying this content, around making sales easier, I've got a free on-demand training that goes through the 5 steps to a great sales process for your business. And it's going to help you to take away all the pressure from sales. It's going to help you to really improve your conversion rates. And most importantly, it's going to help you make more income for your business. Just click the link below this video and it'll take you straight to it. Now, you see how simple that was? And that's a really low-key ask. You're not saying, you must go and click this video before time runs out. There's only 10 copies available. There's none of that rubbish, because that's just crap, right? That's complete false scarcity. You're just saying, hey, if you love this, I've got something else you can go and do. If you want to do it, just click below. It's going to help you with this. And it's so simple to put into the end of all of your content, and it's a really easy way to get them to take the logical next step if they're seeing the value, okay? And a lot of people will take that logical next step. All right. Now, as I just sort of mentioned, it kind of took away the thunder of my own slide, but if the content's awesome, it makes sense for them to take the next step if they're ready, okay? If they're not ready to take the next step, they won't. But if they're not ready, the good thing is, because you've got 5 to 10 awesome pieces of content, then you've got more awesome content for them to consume. And they might watch another 2 or 3, and they might save a couple of videos to come back to later. And then you know that when they're ready, you are the one that's built the trust. You're the one that's delivered all of the results in advance so far, so they're more likely to come and take the next step with you, all right? So then we want them to take the next step. So now we've given them the logical next step of a lead magnet or an on-demand training, like the one that you're watching right now. And so then we're going to invite them to solve their problem. Now, solving the problem might be getting them on a call with you, which would be my personal favorite, because I think there's no better way to show who you are than get on a call with someone and deliver value like in a real life situation as you would as a coach. You can get them into a group, like a Facebook group or an online community that you run. That might be a good next step for them to take to solve their problem. Or you might give them a trial of your program. Okay, they're all kind of very logical, very nice ways to help people to take the next step. Now, what most people really struggle with here is that we're really starting to talk about selling at this stage, okay? We've built a lot of value, we've built a lot of trust. Now it comes down to, hey, let's have a sales conversation. And this is where a lot of people freak out. So have you ever felt like this with any of these? thinking like, I can't even get people on a call, let alone close them on my coaching. Feeling awkward when you get on a call. Feeling like you don't know how to close. Like you do a great job of delivering the call, but then it gets that kind of weird part at the end where it's like, all right, I'll speak to you later. Thanks for your time. Having them say, yeah, you know what, you're too expensive. Having them say, or having yourself say, you know, I want to help them, but I don't feel like pushing them or selling to them. And a lot of people feel like they're good during the call, but they really struggle to pitch the price at the end. You know, they get a bit caught up and they're like, oh, how much is it? Well, it depends. And, it all gets a bit awkward and a bit backwards. So what I want to do is fix all of that right now for you, okay? And the way we're going to do it is what I call the reverse sales method. In fact, it's not actually selling at all. It's just delivering massive value and a logical next step for the customer or for the prospect in a way that's really, really beneficial to them, okay? So it comes in 3 stages. I'm going to take you through every part of it. The first part is the setup. The second part is mapping for the client, mapping the solutions. And the third part is what you would deem as being a close, okay? So the first part of it is pre-framing the client. So let's say you've had someone, they've been to your on-demand training, they say, wow, I'd really like to jump on a call. You've offered them the call, they've booked the call, and they turn up for the call. The first thing you want to start is setting up by saying to the client, what made you book this call with me? Or you could also ask, is there a particular reason you decided to speak to me instead of somebody else? Or you could also say, why is now the right time for you to have this call? All of those things are going to give you good indications of why they've decided to do it. Some people might say, you know what, it was free, so I just took it anyway. And that's cool, at least they're honest. Some people will say, you know what, I've tried so much stuff and I'm so frustrated, but your content was amazing and I couldn't not take up the offer because I just hope that this is going to help me more. And that's really good too, okay? So you ask the pre-frame question, and that's going to lead you to asking them what is going on for them right now. And this is your opportunity to dig deep. This is your opportunity to demonstrate your ability to ask great questions. The important part here is that you don't jump to a solution straight away because you've got a lot more work to do in this process, okay? So the question that I like to normally ask is, hey, tell me what's going on for you right now. And they'll say, well, my business has been going for this long, and this is what's going on, and this is what I'm struggling with. And that's great. And you just want to write all of that stuff down so that you can look back to it and ask more questions and dig deeper, okay? And don't be scared to ask the hard questions. You're here to help these people, and you can only do that if you understand what they've experienced, okay? So remember the questions I told you earlier. What have they seen? What have they heard? What have they tried? What happened when they did that? How did that make them feel? Ask those questions if you get stuck. Now, the final part of this setup is what I call the question. This was actually first made famous. I forget the original name of this question, but it's made famous by a guy called Dan Sullivan of strategiccoach.com. And the question essentially is, imagine if we were having the conversation 90 days from now. What would need to happen in your life, business, relationship for you to be saying to me, wow, I can't believe this has happened for me? And so time frame wise, you can put in whatever time frame is suitable for your business. If you work with people for 3 months, put it in there. So for me, I work in 3-month blocks with one-on-one clients. So for me, I would ask the question of, hey, John Smith, or hey, Jane Smith, imagine you and I were sitting down and having a coffee 90 days from now. What would need to happen in your coaching business for you to feel just blown away with the results that you'd had? Now, what's going to happen is they're going to say, Kirby, I would have $20,000 income per month. I would have 600 email addresses. I would have 6 calls per week in my diary, whatever it might be. And they're going to tell you what the outcome is that they're looking for, okay? Now, you can even also add on here as well and say, what's the outcome that you'd like to get by the end of our call today? And that's also a really good thing to ask because that sets a great expectation on what you need to deliver for them to be happy with the call as well, okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to listen to all of that. You're going to listen to all of those things, and you're going to say, what have you tried already as it relates to filling your calendar? What have you tried already as it relates to booking your sales calls? What have you tried already as it relates to getting email addresses? And then you're going to say, well, here's what I would recommend. I would recommend that we do this. And then I would recommend that we do that. And then I would recommend that we do this. Now, for me, what I do, because I work in a 90-day block with a one-on-one client, recommendation 1 is usually month 1. Recommendation 2 is usually month 2. Recommendation 3 is usually month 3. Makes it very, very simple, okay? And when you're doing that, you're going to be asking questions, of course, through this process, and you're going to give lots of clarity around these steps, and you're going to say, here's what I need you to think about. Here's the questions I want to give you. Here's the way that I want you to do this. And you're going to say, this is what I would do if I was you. And you're going to break it down into chunks so it's very manageable for them. Now, this is where it gets really good. Now you've just delivered to the client a whole lot of value, and they're going to be feeling, hopefully, very, very clear at this stage. And you just want to recap that. So you want to say, hey, here's what we've talked about so far. And you want to say, do you feel good about that? Now, generally speaking, they're going to say, absolutely. And you're going to say, does all of this make sense to you? Is there any part of this that's overwhelming? Is there anything that will prevent you from being able to do all of these steps? And they're going to say, no, I feel really good. Or, yeah, this bit here I'm not quite clear on. And then you can dive deeper if you want to. And you can say, well, let me dive back into it. Let's talk about it a bit more. Give them help, right? This is not a sales call, remember. This is you Serving. This is you saying, I can help you with this, and giving them stuff to think about, giving them solutions to their problem, okay? And that leads to the really important question. And the question is this: hey, do you feel like you would benefit from having me help you with this? That's literally the question. Or you could ask it like, hey, it seems like you've got a really good plan here. Would you like my help to implement this? It's so simple, and that's it. Now, what are they going to say? They're going to say yes or no. They're going to say, you know what, Kirby? Right now, I'm good. Right now, I've got enough information here. I can go off on my own and do it. And that's totally okay. We don't want to burn the client. You're just going to say, great, I'm glad it's been helpful for you. And then you're going to say, hey, do you mind if I check in a couple of weeks and see how you're traveling? Because what you'll find is that most people will go away and they'll get overwhelmed again. And what your job is, remember what I said earlier, is not information. Your job is implementation. Coaching is about helping them to implement change. Coaching is helping them transition. And so, in the example, you might call them in 2 weeks if they've said not yet, and they might say, hey, Kirby, you know what? Actually, I could do with your help. Tell me again how it works, and then you're back in the game. Okay, so don't give up, even if they say not yet. Now, if they say yes, of course, you're going to say, great, I'd love to be that person. Are you up for it? Are you up for a conversation about how it works? And they'll say, yeah, sure. How much does it cost? And then that leads you to your explanation of your offer and giving them the options. Now, here's the key. What you want to really be careful of here is that when you're explaining this, you make it very easy for them to understand, and you give them clear benefits, and you give them some risk reversal. So you might give them a, you know what, if it's not working for you after 30 days, let's just call it a day, and I can give you some money back, or I'll give you all of your money back if I can't get your results, whatever is appropriate to you. Now, here's the important thing. Flexibility wins. Flexibility wins. So if you normally charge a one-off fee for your coaching, don't be scared to say, hey, I can do a payment plan for you. Don't be scared to downsell them if required. You know, you might have an option. Make sure you've got a downsell option too. Make sure you say, hey, if you can't afford to work, if you don't have the budget to work one-on-one with me right now, would you like to go into my group program? It's a lot more affordable, and it might be a really good segue so that when we get you results and you get more income, then we can move you into that one-on-one program if you feel it's applicable for you, okay? So that's how the sales call works. Very, very simple. Pre-frame the client. Why are we on this call together? What's going on for you right now? What would need to happen in time frame for you to be super stoked with the results? What have you tried already? Here's my recommendations. Does this all make sense? Yes. Would you like my help? If so, here's what the offer is, how much it costs. Do you want to work with me? Yes. Great. Okay, that's it. Now, let's recap what this all means again. So we started off by saying, right, we're going to get some traffic from one of three sources. We're going to get paid traffic, free traffic, or partnership traffic. Then we're going to get their attention by speaking to the conversation that's in their mind, by knowing who our client is, what they've experienced already, what they've seen, heard, tried, the result that's given them, and how that's left them feeling. Then they're going to go snooping around. We're going to have 5 to 10 awesome pieces of content that deepen the bond with the client. Then we're going to softly ask them to take a step forward to a lead magnet or an on-demand training like this one. Then some of those people are going to jump on a call with you or take that next step with you, join your group, so on, so on. And then we're actually going to help them with a non-existent pitch call. It's literally like, here's the solutions, here's where you're at, here's what I'd recommend, would you like my help with it? Okay? For those that you work with, of course you're going to get them results because you're a great coach, but you already know that. That's why you're here. And then they're going to become your brand advocates, all right? So I've got a question for you. Have you taken at least one thing away from this training that you're going to go and implement in your business? Like, have you written down a few bullet points where you're like, wow, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Okay? Now I want to practice what I preach, and I'm going to make you a no-brainer sales-free offer. This is completely sales-free. I'm not asking you to buy anything. What I'd like to do, instead of you figuring out what each of your steps need to be that we've just covered, if you want, you and I will jump on a call together, a video conference or a phone call if it's preferred, and I'm going to work with you to give you a total personalized roadmap for your coaching business that will get you results, okay? So taking everything that I've just shared with you, we're going to drill down into it in what I call the coaching blueprint call. And this is usually a 60-minute call. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer, but that's okay. And it's a one-on-one call with me. Now, my corporate clients that I have, they pay $750 for one of these calls. And they've been paying me that year after year. And really what I want to do on this call is get you clear on what's going on with your client, get you clear on the specific copy you should be using in your marketing to get their attention, okay? That's the first thing. Then what I want to do is develop a hook for a lead magnet or an on-demand training and a strong headline. And we'll also look at what the main problems that your clients have. And then I'll show you and I'll teach you how to implement that into a training or into your lead magnet so that it's high value, okay? And then I'll help you to write the copy for your social media posts and your adverts. I'm also going to record it for you. And when that's done, when we finish the call, not only will you get like all of the stuff we talked about, bullet pointed out, I'll send you a copy of the recording so you can watch it again and again. Because there's going to be things that come up in that call. You're going to be scribbling notes furiously. I'm going to be scribbling diagrams everywhere. And there's going to be some things that you think, I just want to go back and listen to what Kirby said about that little part. I'm not really sure what he meant. And then you could go back to the call and watch the recording again, okay? Now you can see down the bottom there, Christine had a session with me recently. She is a coach. She's an ex-medical professional, or she still is a medical professional, I suppose. And she coaches others in the medical profession. And she had a session with me, and we got her very clear on not only who she was serving, but how she could help them, getting her really clear on that messaging and what her next steps are. And she has now gone on to sell 3 of her coaching packages after the fact, after she wrote this comment on the group. Okay, so what we're going to do during this training together, you'll see, first of all, I'm going to show you how to get your market's attention. We're going to work on that copywriting side of things. Then I'm going to show you how to create a right offer that they want to take, and then I'm going to help you to understand the other parts of that process for your on-demand training or your lead magnet as well. All right. So a lot of people say to me, Kirby, why are you giving it away for free? If it's such a good call, why would you give it away for free? And there's a few reasons, and I'll just be honest about them. The first thing is that this is like a really good way for me to show you value in advance, okay? And literally practice what I preach with everything I've just told you. And it's a good way for me to put my foot forward and for us to sort of get to know each other a bit without any weird sales stuff, because it's sales free zone, right? Second thing, I literally want to help you. Like, it's my mission to make sure that every coach has a client. That is literally my mission statement in my business. And I know that you're out there to make a difference. And I know that I can help you do that in a more effective way if we get on a call together. Third thing is it's massively relevant what I'm teaching you. This is stuff that I'm still doing every single day. I live and breathe this stuff. So I know it works. I know it's not out of date like a lot of the stuff that's in the market right now. And also, I got an awesome guarantee for you. So if you jump on a call with me, I have a guarantee to make it a total no-brainer, which I'll share with you in a second. And the most important thing I want to say here is this is a sales-free call, right? There's no requirement for you to buy anything from me. My big thing here is that I know this is a numbers game. And I know that, if 10 people take up this call, then I know that someone will say, hey, Kirby, how do I work with you? And that's totally cool. And if it's not you, if you're like, thank you so much, Kirby, the information's great, but I'm not ready to work with you, or I don't want to work with you because I've already got a coach, no dramas at all. My number one value in my business, and in my life for that matter, is to leave everyone better than I find them. And that's my whole intention for this call, all right? So I do these calls. This is not my sales team. I do not have a sales team. If I'm going to help someone, it's me helping you. So these calls are with me, and obviously as a result of that, they've got to fit between what's going on. I've got 3 kids and a wife, and I've also got my existing clients and group. So, this is kind of like, I'm just kind of slotting these calls between everything that's going on. So there's not a lot of room in the diary for it. So you'll see that when you click the link below the video, you go to my calendar, you'll be able to select your time zone, and you'll be able to input a time that works for you there. You'll see what's available, and I hope that there is something available for you there. If there's not, that's just because I literally don't have the room in the diary. So if you're willing to move out a couple of weeks, you'll probably find a space. If not, then by all means, please flick an email and we'll see if we can work something out, or find me on Facebook or wherever. And I'd love to have a chat to you. So let's talk about the guarantee that I mentioned. If you jump on this call with me, it's a sales-free zone. I just want to give you some clarity, give you that right next step that you need to take. If you feel by the time we finish that call, or at any stage during that call, that I'm wasting your time, if my hair's looking particularly dodgy, which is not difficult because, it's me, or you feel like I'm not offering anything that you've heard from anyone else, then I'm going to give you $100 for not delivering, because I'm absolutely dead serious about helping you. And I'll get your bank account details, and I'll throw $100 in your account, or I'll send you a check or whatever it is that you want me to do. Okay. Feedback from other coaches. There's Christine's thing at the top there. You heard from Christine earlier. She just sold a 3-month package using the exact same sales strategy that I've shown you guys on this call today. And you see there's a couple of others there. Now, I've blacked out a few contact details there for the privacy of the clients, but you'll see there that they're getting great results. So there's one of the ladies in the group over on the right-hand side there jumped on a call and closed a client for $5,000 just from getting a bit more clarity and a bit more confidence in how she needs to approach that call. And you'll see on the bottom left there, another client made a sale today using the super simple, mega easy sales process, which I've just shared with you. And so you can see that that's a great result for her. If you want to book in a free call, there's a link below this video. Go ahead and click on that, and it will take you to my calendar. Go and select a time to chat from the calendar. And there's a 3 or 4 questions in there to answer, just so I know what you want to achieve from the call, and kind of maybe some of the stuff you've done already, just to give me a bit of a heads up before we spend our time together, so I can give you the best value for the time that we spend together. Okay, like I mentioned, sales free zone. And if you don't love the call that we have together, I'll give you $100, because I really don't believe in wasting your time, but I do believe that I can help you make a bigger difference in the world. So what I want you to do, difference maker, is I want you to go and click that link, and I want you to keep shining your light. And I thank you for watching this training, and I'll speak to you on the call.